Morgan Rogers is suddenly the name everyone in football is talking about, and his reported move to Chelsea for a record fee has sparked debate across England and Europe. The story is not only about one player but about how the football transfer market is changing. What makes Morgan Rogers such a valuable player? Morgan Rogers developed from a promising young talent into one of the most effective attacking players in English football. His ability to play on either wing as an attacking midfielder or as a supporting forward makes him extremely valuable. Clubs are paying for versatility as much as production, and Rogers offers both. How did Morgan Rogers rise so quickly? His journey took him through academy football, loan spells, the Championship, and eventually Aston Villa. Villa identified his potential early and gave him the platform to develop. Strong performances in domestic and European competitions excel negotiations. Selling clubs now have another example of a young English attacker commanding an extraordinary fee. That strengthens the bargaining position of clubs developing similar talents. What is the Rogers ripple effect? The Rogers ripple effect describes how one major transfer can influence valuations across the football pyramid. When a player moves for a record amount, other clubs use that deal as a benchmark when setting prices for their own players. Why are championship clubs paying close attention? Championship clubs increasingly believe that developing young talent can generate massive future profits. The success of Rogers reinforces the importance of youth development, recruitment, and patience. How does this affect Premier League scouting departments? Scouting teams face growing pressure to identify future stars before their value explodes. Missing a player before his breakthrough can mean paying several times more only a year or two later. Why is versatility so important in modern football? Managers want players who can adapt to different tactical systems. Rogers can operate in multiple attacking positions, allowing coaches greater flexibility throughout a season. What role does homegrown status play? Premier League and European squad regulations encourage clubs to maintain a strong homegrown core. High-quality English players therefore carry an additional premium in the transfer market. How do financial regulations influence transfers? Profit and sustainability rules encourage clubs to think carefully about spending and player trading. Younger players often provide more long-term value because they retain resale potential. Why do clubs prefer young players over older stars? Young players offer longer careers, greater development potential, and future transfer value. Older players may provide immediate impact but usually offer less financial security. How did Aston Villa benefit from the Morgan Rogers story? Villa reportedly acquired Rogers for a relatively modest fee before developing him into one of the most valuable players in England. That type of value creation is the dream scenario for ambitious clubs. What does this mean for Middlesbrough? Because of sell-on arrangements, Middlesbrough may also benefit financially. The transfer highlights how smart contract clauses can reward clubs that develop talent. Why are transfer fees rising so rapidly? Premier League revenues continue to grow while elite young talent remains limited. Strong demand combined with limited supply naturally drives prices upward. How does European competition affect player values? Players who perform in major European competitions often attract additional interest. Success on those stages increases both reputation and market value. Why are clubs willing to take bigger risks? Qualifying for elite competitions can generate enormous revenue. Many clubs believe spending heavily now may produce greater rewards later. Is there a danger of transfer inflation? Some experts believe football is experiencing significant inflation in player valuations. As fees rise across the market, even average players become more expensive. Could there be a market correction in the future? Football has experienced cycles before. If spending eventually exceeds sustainable levels, some clubs may become more cautious and valuations could stabilize. What makes Rogers different from many expensive transfers? His age, versatility, physical profile, and continued potential for improvement distinguish him from many high-priced signings whose best years may already be behind them. Will other young players now be valued differently? Many clubs are likely to use deals involving elite young English players as reference points during negotiations. That could push asking prices higher throughout the market. What does this transfer say about modern football? Modern football increasingly treats elite young players as long-term assets rather than short-term purchases. Clubs evaluate sporting value, commercial value, and future resale potential at the same time. Can Morgan Rogers justify such expectations? Only future performances will answer that question. Record fees always create pressure, but they also reflect the belief that a player can become one of the defining stars of his generation. What is the biggest lesson from this story? The biggest lesson is that identifying and developing talent early has never been more important. The difference between signing a player before his breakthrough and after his breakthrough can be worth tens of millions. Why might this transfer be remembered for years? Because it represents more than a player changing clubs. It reflects the evolution of football economics, scouting, recruitment, and long-term planning across the entire game. Finally, the Morgan Rogers transfer story demonstrates how rapidly football can change. A player once viewed as a promising prospect is now at the center of one of the biggest transfer deals in football history. Whether the transfer succeeds or fails on the pitch, its impact on valuations, recruitment strategies, and transfer negotiations may influence English football for many years to come. If you enjoyed this video, please share, like, and subscribe for more football analysis and educational content.